Eulogy for Stephen Arthur Dilk. Good morning/afternoon, everyone. Today, we come together to honor and celebrate the life of Stephen Arthur Dilk, a man whose life was full of bold ideas, deep love, wild stories, and quiet wisdom. He made the world brighter with his hands, his humor, and his huge personality. Stephen was born on May 23, 1955, in Madison, Indiana. From those modest beginnings, he went on to live an extraordinary life, one built from hard work, creative fire, and unshakable devotion to the people and animals he loved. A gifted welder and machinist, Stephen worked on heavy equipment in the mines, a job that required strength, precision, and grit. He wasn't afraid of hard work. In fact, he thrived in it. He could build just about anything, and when he did, it was built to last. At home, he used those same hands to create magic for his kids, handcrafting a merry-go-round, teeter-totter, swing set, and soapbox derby cars they raced with pride. He showed his love not just through words, but through the things he made, the time he gave, and the joy he inspired. Stephen had a deep and natural bond with animals, especially dogs. He trained his Doberman, King, with such care and discipline that King went on to win trophies in obedience competitions. And he extended that compassion by founding a dog training program to help German Shepherds become assistance animals, giving others the gift of support, freedom, and unconditional love. Of course, his loyal Yorkie, Mighty Mouse, was always by his side, working in the shop with him, riding in the car Stephen custom-built just for him, or cuddled up to watch The World's Fastest Indian, a film about heart, speed, and dreams. It was one of Stephen's favorites, a fitting choice for a man who loved building things that moved. Stephen had an unshakable passion for racing and mechanics. He was deep into building a Bantam car, and he was lovingly restoring his prized Aztec Gold 1997 Mustang GT. He didn't just appreciate cars, he understood them. He poured his passion into every detail, every bolt, and every gleam of chrome. And that protective instinct carried over into his role as a father, especially when it came to his daughter Tyra driving. In true Stephen fashion, he wouldn't let her take her newly bought car on the road until he had installed a 12-point roll cage in it. Because in his mind, if his daughter was going to drive, she was going to be as safe as a NASCAR driver. There are even photos in the picture book today that show his handiwork, a father's love welded into steel, built to protect what mattered most. And then, of course, there were the stories. Stephen's humor was legendary. He could take a mundane moment and spin it into a tale that had the whole room laughing. He once convinced his kids that squash growing in the garden was filled with ham and cheese. In the middle of a snowy Idaho winter, he placed a pineapple in a pine tree and told his daughter, totally serious, that's where pineapples grow. There was the time his daughter Tyra had an unfortunate run-in with Nair, and instead of just explaining it, Stephen crafted an entire saga, how she had been giving a girl a swirly for stealing her stuffed elephant, how the girl farted mid-swirly, and how Tyra ended up with methane gas burns. It was absurd, dramatic, and pure Stephen. And who could forget the now legendary booger bite story? When Stephen warned little Benny not to pick his nose, telling him boogers bite, then promptly smashed his own hand with a hammer while building a camper shell. He walked in bleeding, and Benny, dead serious, said, "A boog bit him." Stephen Arthur Dilk lived a life of motion, meaning, and deep, enduring love. He built. He raced. He protected. He joked. He loved with everything he had. And though he's no longer with us physically, his stories, his spirit, and his legacy live on in every life he touched. Stephen showed us how to truly live, not just through his actions, but through the lessons he left behind. He taught us to laugh even in tough times, to create beauty from raw materials, and to cherish every moment with the ones we love. He reminded us that real strength isn't just about muscle, it's about resilience, kindness, and unwavering loyalty. We fondly remember many humorous and heartfelt moments. Stephen once told Benny not to stick his tongue on a metal fence in winter, probably secretly hoping he would, and sure enough, Benny ended up hilariously stuck, becoming a favorite family memory. In kindergarten, for Kite Day, Stephen didn't simply buy Tyra a kite, he carefully handcrafted one so huge it towered above her. Later, in 8th grade, when Tyra had a science project to build a toothpick bridge, Stephen immediately stepped in with tight bond glue and meticulously crafted triangular reinforcements, leading her to victory. When another project required a rubber band car, he engineered a winning model that left classmates amazed. His protectiveness was legendary. When Tyra divorced Jordan's dad, Stephen was so concerned about her safety, he bought her brass knuckles and a cassette recorder, just in case. Though she thankfully never needed them, the brass knuckles later ended up at the surprise police department when Bryce, at about 8 years old, took them to school to ward off bullies. In 2nd grade, when Tyra was unjustly sent to the office and called Stephen in tears, he arrived swiftly, shaking the whole school up with his protective presence. Needless to say, she was never sent to the office again. Christmases were magical under Stephen's care. Even in lean times, he always ensured there were abundant presents, creatively wrapped in tin foil, and filled the holiday with warmth and joy. Stephen was a steadfast presence at Tyra's badminton and volleyball games, proudly cheering her on. He also nurtured Stephanie's passion for music, regularly taking her to perform on her keyboard in restaurants, which later inspired her to form her band, Daughters of Fission. Highly intelligent, Stephen boasted an IQ over 150 and taught algebra to Tyra and Benny when they were barely 10. Summers were spent engaging in deep talks about astronomy, building transistor radios, and embracing unconventional learning experiences. Even during his high school days, Stephen demonstrated remarkable maturity, juggling school and vocational training. By age 18, he was already married with a baby girl, owned a home in Scottsdale, and drove a brand new Gremlin. Before marrying Senna, Stephen lovingly filled both parental roles, teaching Tyra ice fishing, independence, and self-worth. Their bond was profoundly strong, so much that in 1986, Tyra passionately wrote a Father of the Year essay detailing his heartfelt gestures, like doing her hair in ponytails with ribbons, teaching her karate, and dressing her up like a princess, always ensuring she wore shorts underneath since she wasn't quite ladylike. Yet, until Senna showed her to stop going things like licking her plate and doing somersaults down grassy hills in a dress. Even as he aged, Stephen never stopped evolving. In the final months of his life, he embraced a whole new sense of style, revamping his wardrobe and proudly showing off his new favorite item, the now famous duck shirt. It wasn't just a shirt, it was a statement. It said, "I've still got it," and he wore it like a rock star. Stephen also had a passion for the simple joys. Chief among them? Shrimp. He loved shrimp with a kind of enthusiasm that could only come from someone who truly appreciated life's little pleasures. A plate of shrimp, a good movie, his dog beside him, that was Stephen's idea of heaven on earth. As his time on earth grew short, Stephen became even more reflective. He reminded his family of what matters most: love, forgiveness, time, and togetherness. He gave his blessings. He made his peace. And he spoke openly and powerfully about the importance of family. In those final days, he was in the care of Eddie, a caregiver at the facility where Stephen spent his last chapter. Eddie brought more than just professional care. He brought compassion, presence, and kindness. His gentle spirit made Stephen's final days more peaceful, more human, and more valuable. For this, the family will always be deeply grateful. Stephen leaves behind his wife, Senna, daughters Tyra Woods Wade and Stephanie Dilk, son-in-law Donald Wade, granddaughter-in-law Gianess Tassino, and grandchildren Jordan Harford, Bryce Wade, Brandon Woods, Jaden Harford, Tatum Woods, Delilah Garcia, Matthew Garcia, Teal Garcia, and Alexis Harford. He was preceded in death by his beloved son, Benny Dilk, his father, Vern Dilk, mother, Wanda Hagen Stith Dilk, sisters, Verna Lee Dilk and Debbie Dilk, his brother, Mike Dilk, and many other loved ones who welcomed him home. Though our hearts ache today, let us hold on to Stephen's laughter, his creativity, his fearless heart, and his profound wisdom. Let us honor him by living fully, loving fiercely, and carrying forward the legacy he so passionately built. Stephen Arthur Dilk lived a life of motion, meaning, and deep, enduring love. He built, he raced, he protected, he joked, he loved with everything he had. And though he's no longer with us physically, his stories, his spirit, and his legacy live on in every life he touched. Rest easy, Stephen. The welder's torch may be still, the race car waits, and the duck shirt is hanging just right, but your story is still racing forward, fast and full of heart in all of us. There are so many memories of Steve, and no single eulogy could ever fully capture the depth and reach of the life he lived. In his final years, Steve spent more time at home, his world a little quieter, his days more reflective. And though he was more sheltered from the outside world, his presence remained strong for those who loved him. On March 27th, 2025, Stephen left this world, finally free from the pain and struggles that had followed him in his later years. That same day, Don Wade wrote a poem to honor him. The Steve. The struggle of the incomplete has emerged to the early days, bringing to the needed end of the lost. It brings tears and sorrow with an unpronounced sadness, but yet the fulfillment of the expected. He is freed from the demons that have invaded his soul. May he rest in peace now that his life has ended in full. Don Wade. A few days later, Tyra reflected on the many lessons her dad taught her, especially in the last few months of his life. Lessons learned. How blessed we are to have family there for us. Treat everyone like it is the last time you will see them, because it just might be, even when you're frustrated. Tell people you love them often. Forgive. Don't stay in toxic situations. Take care of your body. Use opioids as a last resort only and sparingly. Be kind to your liver. It's never too late to repair family relationships or any that have been tarnished throughout the years by struggles. I learned more than ever how proud he was of me and how blessed I am for having a smart and loving man like Don and our bonded relationship. I learned he, like many of us, struggled to feel acceptance and had a fear of being abandoned. I saw an overwhelming goodness in people. I have gratitude for the last 3 months of his life being so close to mine. I learned peace with death. May 23rd, 1955 to March 27th, 2025.